And here on Locked On Buckeyes here on this Thursday. It is Wil Hunter of Locked On Spartans. He was with us once before. He's with us now. Wil, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, Jay. How are you doing? I got to say real quick, I was thinking this was going to be like another blowout special for us because last time we talked was football and we didn't have a lot of confidence going into that one. And I really thought we were headed that direction with this one when we were emailing back and forth, like, do you want to come on? I'm like, really? Do I have to? I'm feeling a little bit better after the last couple of games. It's really, things have kind of changed. So yeah, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Not bad, man. Not bad. Just enjoying life. The snow here that we had is kind of going away. You got 50 degrees weather coming, so it's kind of enjoyable there.
Perfect.
And I'm glad you're in a better mood because I was emailing you about this day. I was like, hey, let's get Wil back on. I know it's football. Basketball's here now. Michigan State Spartans have been most of the time a dumpster fire and embarrassment, but they are coming off wins versus the Hoosiers on the road. They have a lot of talent, but they're not really putting it together. But they did just beat the number 5 team in the land, Illinois. Yeah. You mentioned it. Why has your mood changed? Just going. I know part of why, but
sure.
Go in depth, please, about why your mood has changed going into this game tonight.
This team has put together 3 consecutive halves of honestly the best basketball they've played all season. There's maybe like a 15-minute stretch against Duke, a 15-minute stretch against Notre Dame, a stretch against Rutgers the first time around where they blew them out that you could maybe stack it up, but they have not played like 30 minutes consecutively like this well all season. The big thing and a thing we've been griping about or just, pulling our hair out is the rotation has been a mess. It's the product of having a lot of pretty good players, but not really knowing who your go-to guys are, right? Who are your 5 starters? Who's your first 2 off the bench? It's been changing all season. And for the first time, first half against Indiana, Michigan State's down big. And Tom Izzo went to a 4-guard/wing rotation. I would actually consider all of them to be guards, 4 guards and a center. And they just kind of played a little variation of 4 out. They went on a run, brought that game back to competitive by halftime. And then they put up 52 points in the second half on Indiana with that lineup. And this is an offense that was out of the top 100 in KenPom adjusted efficiency. They were the second worst offense in the conference, only with Nebraska behind them. And so to put up 52 in one half on Indiana's pretty good defense was noticeable. They ran it back. They did the same thing against Illinois, used the same rotation, tightened things up, cut some minutes of the guys at the back end, and they scored into the 80s against Illinois, who was a top 10 defense in adjusted efficiency going into that game. So 2 performances back-to-back where you're like, there actually might be something here. We're not buying in all the way yet. We're still nervous. We've seen a lot of bad basketball this year, man. But for the first time in a long time, we've seen 3 consecutive halves of really actually good basketball, Michigan State basketball, and that's been nice to see.
I know there may be a listener or two or someone watching this that may say, who was that 4-guard/wing, 1 center lineup? Who was in that? Do you remember those players off the top of your head?
Yep. So it's not a true, like, we got a point guard, a 2-guard, a 3-guard. We kind of got a couple combo guards. Rocket Watts and Josh Langford will kind of split distributing balls, starting the offense duties at like point guard/shooting guard. Aaron Henry, who is a 3 generally, but can play some 2, is in that lineup. He's Michigan State's best, most consistent player. He's been averaging close to 20 a game for a little while here and is starting to pick up the efficiency a little bit. He'll do some distribution as well. Gabe Brown, who's a tall 6'7", 6'8" shooter, has been in that lineup as well. He's more of a wing. So those are the 4 key guys. Rocket Watts, Josh Langford, Aaron Henry, and Gabe Brown are the 4. And then beyond that, they have 4 centers. And if you have 4 centers, you don't really have a center. It's almost like quarterbacks.
Right.
But they all kind of have different skill sets and different matchups. And so the way they use their centers in this game will be different than what they did against Kofi Cockburn in Illinois, because Ohio State doesn't have a 7-foot, 300-pound muscular tree in the center like Illinois does. So they have a little bit of versatility there. And it's almost like now that you have the other 4 spots figured out, whether it's Kithier, Bingham, Mady Sissoko, or Julius Marble, they all bring something a little bit different to the table, and they're kind of going to ride the hot hand, play the best matchup, whatever makes the most sense at center is hopefully what they'll do, but it's all going to be built around those four guys, those four guard wings.
Would you say, and I know when Tom Enzo normally gets a team to turn around, not this late in the season, but he does get them to play the best basketball a couple weeks prior, and then like Big Ten Conference Tournament, it's like, wait, Michigan State can win this thing? Yeah, they can. Do you think it's too little, too late as far as NCAA tournament hopes right now?
I don't. It's a really precarious situation. Like, their backs are really up against the wall. We talk a lot about the blessing and the curse of being in the Big Ten. The blessing is you have an opportunity every time you play to basically play a tournament team. And the curse is if you're not playing well, you got a tournament team. You don't have, like, there's a team in Nebraska that you can look at and be like, all right, we're going to beat them.
Right.
Everyone else, like Northwestern beat Michigan State earlier this year at their place. So everyone else, can at the very least put up like a really good fight. So Michigan State just went on the road to beat Indiana, which kind of like, hey, maybe there's something here. Beat Illinois at home, a top 5 team that kind of put them right on the edge of the bubble. Now they have Ohio State, another top 5 team. They have a home game against Indiana, a tournament team, road game at Maryland, fringe tournament team, and then back-to-back games against Michigan, the number 3 team in the country. They have, like, I'm not of the belief that they're going to run the table. I think the odds of that are like 0.5%. Maybe that's even high. Say they did. Say they ran the table. Like, that's the 7 seed. Like, they're going to go from the edge of the bubble and rock it up to like a 6 or 7 seed off the strength of that alone. If they can win 3 more of these next 5 games, and then we'll see how everything shakes out in the tournament, maybe beat Rutgers in the first round and play Illinois or Ohio State. And if you can beat them in the second round, they got a good shot. It's going to be tough because they're playing so many good teams. But if they beat Ohio State here, I think you're going to see a lot of bracketologists have them as like the last team in, first team out, second team out. So they're right there. Tough mountain to climb, but the way they've been playing the last game and a half, like, it's like, hey, maybe they can climb it. We're not relying on a miracle run through the Big Ten tournament anymore. Maybe they can build that resume enough. Strength of schedule comes up. Efficiencies get a little better. Get some good wins. Maybe they can sneak in the backside of the tournament.
2 more questions for you. I'll make them quickly for you. Tonight's game, where do you think Michigan State can attack Ohio State to try to win this matchup?
I honestly don't know because Kyle Young is out.
True,
and I think
true.
I think that's a big deal because Ohio State doesn't have, a traditional center. EJ Liddell is almost like a power forward that plays center. They got a lot of guys with some size, but there's no 7-footer. There's no 6'10 plus guy, right? It's really a small ball thing, and Michigan State is bringing their version of their small ball in there. And Kyle Young is really a pivot player because I don't know, does that mean more Justin Arns, right? Are they going to go shooting with are they going to play a little bit more Zed Key? Are they going to, Seth Towns? Like, I don't know how they're going to make up for Young's absence. So I really don't know. I know what Michigan State's probably going to do. They're going to use those 4 guys I mentioned earlier, and they'll probably start. I don't know who they're going to start at center. It's been a rotation all year. Bingham played really well last game. Maybe they go with Bingham. He's got a little bit extra size and defensively can protect the rim. We were just talking about this on our show. I'm super intrigued to see what Ohio State does. And if you have any insight, please feel free after I'm done talking to throw it out there. I'm really intrigued to see how Ohio State decides to manage Young's absence and what that'll mean for Michigan State. Like, there's a chance we get like a bunch of 4 guard wing lineups on both sides with a center, and we get into like track meet territory. And I know Ohio State would love that because they can score 90 on pretty much anyone in the country. They just put up 87 on Michigan, one of the best defenses in the country. And as you know, Ohio State can also give up 80-plus points on any given night. So that could be really interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah, I really don't know. I want to see what Ohio State does from a strategy standpoint, how they deal with Young's absence.
I personally don't know. I try to be a guy that's try to be nerd out a little bit with stuff like this. But that absence is huge because if you bring Zed Key into the starting lineup, that's shortening your bench. There's a guy named Ibrahim Diallo, only played 3 games. He's recovering from an injury. Well, if he comes in, he hasn't played much. If he doesn't play well, you're putting yourself in like a little backdoor spot. You're hurting yourself because you're trying to fix things really quickly with a guy that you don't really know what you're going to get from him at any point when he's on the court. So I don't know. I don't think Seth Towns may play more, but what Seth Towns do you get? Justin Arns, what Justin Arns do you get? So I don't know. I am comfortable saying I don't know because I don't want to be the guy that says, it's going to happen, and I mess things up. It's like, Jay, you're an idiot. Sorry, I apologize. Real quickly, we could go on for hours about this. Who do you think wins tonight's game? And do you think it's close or a double-digit victory for whoever wins?
I think it's much closer than it was last time. Certainly Young's absence, he's an incredibly efficient player. He doesn't shoot a ton for them, but like he makes a lot of shots. He's a great offensive rebounder. I think that's a key to watch. And, playing in East Lansing is going to be, you would think, a little bit harder on Ohio State than playing at home was last time. And Michigan State is in much better form. And Ohio State is like, they lost to Michigan, but they're still great. They're still playing really good basketball. Just because you lose to Michigan doesn't mean you're not playing well, as much as that hurts you, I'm sure.
I get it.
Yeah, but like Ohio State's in really good form. Michigan State's in good form now lately. I think it's going to be closer. I would still give an edge to Ohio State. I think the game just stylistically is more likely to get into a bit of a track meet than a rock fight, and Michigan State kind of would prefer a rock fight against Ohio State's offense. So, something like 82-78 for Ohio State would make a lot of sense to me. I think if it's like 72-60 something, that's going to favor Michigan State. So like, whoever can sort of impose their will on tempo might have a lot to say, like who wins this game. But I would favor Ohio State by a few points. I think it's like 4 or 5 in Vegas. So I'm like right in lockstep with that line.
Gotcha. Will, thanks so much for coming on. Let people know, if you could, where they can catch your show and then where they can catch you on social media as well.
Yeah, Locked On Spartans, wherever you get your podcast. Matt and I, my co-host Matt Sheehan, also will make appearances on Locked On Big Ten with Ben, which you've been on. Everyone should go check that out. My handle on Twitter is at Wil__Hunter, 1L2 underscores. If you follow me during Michigan State basketball games, I will probably be just terribly obnoxious and you will stop following me. I don't know why you still follow me, Jay. But that's how you can find us on Twitter. And if you want to hear like our full preview, definitely go check that out. This segment will be in it, but we did 2 other segments where we talk a lot about Young's injury and the implications of that and just from our perspective. So yeah, check that out if you want to as well. Locked On Spartans, wherever you get your podcasts.
Will, I continue to follow you for the humor because even during the Indiana game, I didn't know you weren't watching it when I sent the tweet out, and then I think you did start watching it, and then they turned the game around. Yes. So maybe you were the good luck at that point. But guys, you can follow me on Twitter, guys, at JSteven07. Continue to watch and listen wherever you listen to the podcast, Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff, and then also via YouTube on WKYC in Cleveland, their YouTube page as well. Big game tonight. I do think it'll be closer, just like Will does, and I do think from start to finish, we'll see a fight from both the Spartans and the Buckeyes that maybe about a month ago we weren't expecting to see.
No maybe there, Jay. Like, we were not expecting this a week ago. So a fight, great. We're in for a fight. We just everything is turning around somehow. It's been really fun.